Nightmare Ariola, and you're watching Mission Boxing Today on YouTube.
Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, man. Shouts out to one of my subscribers. Well, a few subscribers sent me this article, another boxing scene article. So I'll leave this article in the description box for you. Like always on my channel, you can click it, read it, and come to your own surmise. But Team Ortiz feel Eddie Hearn is afraid of Joshua losing to Ortiz. All right, now before I read what Jay Jimenez had to say, the manager of Ortiz, let me give a shout out to Ryan Burton. This is his article, and he's the one that reached out to Jay Jimenez. But before I read what Jimenez had to say, I would think Eddie Hearn is afraid of Joshua losing to anybody, whether it's Luis Ortiz or Klitschko rematch or Deontay Wilder or Pulev or whoever. But let me just read what he had to say, okay? And maybe there's a lot of fans out there that think Luis Ortiz is a lot older than I think they list him at 37 or 38, one of those ages. But so who knows? Maybe Eddie Hearn also feels he's a little bit older and he doesn't want his fighter losing to a older fighter in his 40s. You know what I mean? But let me read what he had to say. Now, again, that's not what his age is listed. If you go to BoxRec or Wikipedia, it's just that a lot of fans believe coming over from Cuba that he's lying about his age. Now, that's not written in stone. It's just a rumor I always see all around pretty much any boxing forum that I'm on, and we're talking about Luis Ortiz. Anyways, this is what Jay Jimenez had to say. He says, listen, we would have loved to take Briggs' place against Akendo, but we are still waiting on Luis promoter Dade Promotions to tell us what's going on with the WBA mandatory situation. I know that their attorneys from Andrew Horn's firm had told them they had already put in requests to the WBA and Eddie Hearn for the mandatory defense, but so far, no answer, Jimenez told BoxingScene.com, while saying that there is no need for a Joshua Klitschko rematch. I just read an article on Boxing Scene where Eddie Hearn is saying that the WBA gave him a special permit. I don't know where he is getting this from because I spoke to Gilbert Mendoza myself and no such permit have been given. I really want all this resolved because before anything, I'm a hardcore boxing fan and I know Joshua has no faults in none of this, but as far as I've heard from Jorge Carmente, who is Ortiz promoter, he tells us that his attorney at the Andrew Horn firm had told him no such permit is valid this time because they already got one when they made the first fight. And yes, it was a good fight, but Joshua KO'd Klitschko at the end. Shit. Let's just give Kell Brook his special permit too, because that was a close fight until he was stopped by Spence. You see, this don't make sense. All I want is for them to do what's right. That's all. I feel this sport needs a boxing union or something. Attention because it's going from a sport to a business, and that's not boxing. We should call it the WWE boxing instead. It's funny that he says that. Shouts out to Blood Boxing, man. If you guys haven't subscribed to Blood Boxing, go subscribe to his channel. But I've heard Blood Boxing call boxing the WWE for about 8 years now here on YouTube. He goes on to say, this is why we are losing so many fans to MMA. Which, and let me just interject real quick. Yes, because usually in the MMA, it's just they run it how I believe boxing should be ran. And I don't want to make this a super long video about sanctioning bodies and all that, but usually, man, the title holder, he fights the mandatory. They fight each other. Usually the mandatory spot should be earned and deserved, right? That guy should have, fought somebody in the interim to earn that number one spot. Then he fights the title holder. That's pretty basic, man. And a whole bunch of rematches shouldn't be getting in the way of guys that's been sitting at mandatory positions for a year and 15 months. Like I told you guys before, I did a video about this. Luis Ortiz has been rated number 1 or number 2 by the WBA for 5 years. If you don't believe me, go on the WBA website and look for yourself. Now, there was a 9-month stretch in there. It was after his test result came back in January of 2015 for the Latif Coyote fight, where they took him out of the rankings, or they took him out of the top 10, and they put him at number 11. Then he worked his way back up into the top 10. He went to number 8, and then he went right back up to number 1 or 2 or 1. But the last 5 years, he's been rated number 1 or 2 for the majority of the time. And then 9 months in there where he was rated number 8 and number 11. And he's been the interim title holder since what, 2015? So, all right, he goes on this. What else did he say? He says, I'd rather Eddie Hearn just come out of the closet and admit Luis is too dangerous for Joshua, especially after what just happened to his fighter on Saturday when Brooke lost to Spence. And karma got him and he lost his title. So I doubt he wants another boxer representing USA to go over against Joshua this year. And that's a fact. He won't face Luis Ortiz or Deontay Wilder, said Jimenez. All right. And I feel like I talk about this so many times, man. So I just wanted to get this information out there about what Ortiz and his team had to say. I'm curious to hear what you guys got to say in the comment section, man. Mostly all this stuff, I've done plenty of videos about this. I want to, like I was just telling you guys about the Luis Ortiz being rated, in their number 1 or number 2 for the last 5 years, except the 9 months where he served that suspension for the failed drug test. I mean, what's the holdup? And I even said I think he deserves his title shot quicker than Kurbet Pulev. Pulev, this isn't his fault. He's the IBF mandatory or whatever. So to him, I'm sure that Pulev doesn't care two shits about Luis Ortiz's title shot. But Pulev, this would be his second title shot in the last few years. He was the IBF mandatory before when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. He's getting a title shot. A guy like Eric Molina. I like Eric Molina. I'm cool with his trainer. But Eric Molina got to fight Joshua and Wilder, I believe, in an 18-month span where he got 2 title shots. You get what I'm saying here? Like there's guys getting all types of title shots, man. And Dominic Brazil got a title shot. Gerald Washington got title shots. Now I know some of these are different sanctioning bodies in different circumstances. Shit, Glasscoff and Charles Martin fought for a title. You know what I mean? Like I said, I know it's different circumstances, different fighters, but it's just when as a fan, when I see fighters getting title shots and multiple title shots, look at Andrew Ruiz Jr. and Joseph Parker. They fought for the vacant WBO title. Razvan Kanjanu just got a title shot. You get what I'm saying here? Like, I know it's different sanctioning bodies, but as a fan, when I sit back and I see a guy like Ortiz not even got 1 title shot yet, you know what I'm saying? And I know people gonna say, "Oh, his drug test." It's like, yeah, man, that was 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago, man. That fight with Coyote was 3 years ago, and he's had 6 fights in between then. And I know the Jennings fight, Jennings was not gonna fight him. You guys can look all this stuff up on the internet. Jennings was not gonna fight Ortiz unless they had strict drug testing, and Ortiz complied, and they had to fight. You know what I mean? So. And even when the WBC tried to do that little thing they took him out the rankings. What was at the beginning of this year when they took him out the rankings? They took Ortiz and they took Jarrell Miller out of their rankings, their top 15. The WBC came out and said, if you're not enrolled in VADA clean boxing, we're taking you out of the rankings. And then Ortiz, Jay Jimenez, himself, he came out and hit them with a rebuttal and told them, hey man, we've been signed up for VADA since September, which would have been September of 2016. What are you guys talking about? And then that very next month or the next time the WBC reshuffled their rankings, bam, Luis Ortiz is right back in the top 5. So I don't know, man. What do you guys think about this Joshua Ortiz? What do you think about what Jay Jimenez had to say? Let me know what you think. I'm out.